If you asked me today what slider would I personally choose, this would be the answer. Hey, my name is Scott and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about sliders, and specifically this little guy right here, which is the Micro 2 from Zeapon, which I think was formerly known as pork sets. Surprisingly, there's a ton of variety on the market for sliders. You have aluminum or carbon fiber, you have different sizes, you have motorized units and non-motorized units, and even within those categories, you have tons of different varieties. So it's just an incredibly complex choice for such a simple item. This slider right here is not carbon fiber, so it's not especially lightweight. It's obviously not huge, and it's also not motorized, at least at the moment, although that may be coming in the future. However, I can almost guarantee you that you will get better footage from this slider than from a lot of other sliders for two simple reasons. You'll be much more likely to have it with you. Seriously, it's that simple. You'll never ever get any results out of a slider that's too big to bring along with you. For plan shoots, fine, go crazy. Get larger sliders, get motorized sliders, things that can take up a little bit more time to set up. You know, even something that maybe you can mount on two tripods on either end for a steadier shot. But for casual shoots, you can literally bring this along with you in your backpack, which means that you will have it when you find that shot that just inspires you. I wish I had a slider right now. You're gonna have it with you. Of course, there are other small sliders out there on the market as well, motorized and not, but this one, although it's only about 30 centimeters long, it's gonna give you about 60 centimeters of travel, so you're really not sacrificing a whole lot here by having that small design. The gears on here have a really nice fluid-like resistance to them. Now, this is kind of a don't really know it until you try it type thing, but oh man, the movement on here is so buttery smooth. I'm not talking smooth as in not bumpy, because of course, yeah, it's smooth in that way as well, but so are a lot of other sliders. I'm talking about the actual consistency of the speed in your motion. I feel like that's something that people often overlook in non-motorized sliders, is that you're relying totally on your hand to keep that motion a steady speed from one end to the other. If you slow down your footage into slow motion in post, then maybe it's not as noticeable, but I personally struggle to get a smooth and consistent speed as I pan across with just my hand, but the fluid resistance that you get here, much like the fluid head on a tripod, a video tripod, it kind of helps you to achieve that with a lot less effort. Basically what it does is that resistance will kind of fight against those smaller inconsistencies in your hand movement, so that way they don't show up in your footage as much. And on top of that, the fluidity of that movement kind of keeps its own momentum a little bit. So the momentum that you have going combined with the resistance against your own hand's imperfections really combine to help make it a lot easier to get that smooth footage that you want. The resistance also really helps when you have this on an angle, because you can use that resistance together with gravity, maybe just a light touch to support it by your hand, and you can get really effortless, smooth shots coming down at an angle, and it's not just going to slam to the bottom of the slider because you don't have that freedom for just it to fall down there. You do have the resistance fighting against gravity, and again, it just takes a very gentle touch by your hand to kind of guide it down at the speed that you want. Again, at a lot more consistent speed than you could do without that resistance built in. Now, that's not to say that it's perfect, but a lot of my complaints kind of come along with this design inherently. So let's go ahead and take a look at how to get this set up and how exactly it works. So what I've got here is the Micro 2 slider and the Easy Lock base, which is sold separately. The slider itself cost around $200, and the base will go for under $100. On the main body of the slider, you have this center section here, which will slide left and right with this track. It's locked with these two little kind of push locks here. Just push that and you can unlock it, and that will slide left and right. But what you will also notice is that this track itself does also slide left and right within this kind of base, the center base here. So this center part is sliding within this track, and the track itself is sliding within this center part, which is what gives you double the range considering the small size. This is where you'll mount your camera, and there is an adapter on here right now. Built into the slider itself is a 1/4" screw, which if you want to mount your camera directly on here, usually cameras will have a 1/4" screw on the bottom of them, or you do have this 3/8" adapter if you want to use a ball head or a video head. A lot of those will have 3/8" screw holes on the bottom there, so whichever works for you, you can adapt it to that. But this design also means that the only place you can mount this onto a tripod is in this center block here, because it's the only part that remains stationary as you slide it back and forth. So usually traditional sliders will be able to be mounted at the ends as well on two light stands or two tripods, and you can't do that here. And there is a little bit of, sacrifice sacrifice that you're making for the stability in that case, but this is meant to be a portable kind of everyday, backpack friendly slider. And obviously if that's what you're looking for, you're not going to be carrying around 2 light stands or 2 tripods with you anyway. That also means that although there are some little rubber nubs on the bottom here that allow you to kind of sit it comfortably on a table or something like that, you're going to very, very quickly lose your center of balance as you slide it out. It's going to fall over here, and that's not going to be good. So you do need a mini tripod like this one right here, or something like this Easy Lock base, which we'll talk about now. This Easy Lock base will screw right into the bottom center of the slider itself, and then on the bottom side here you have another quick release plate. So if you want to put this onto a tripod or something, you don't need to remove this Easy Lock base. You can just do it right there, and then you can use this quick release plate, which we'll show you how to take off in just a second, to remove it and put it onto a flat table or something like that. You can go back and forth very quickly, and there are also these legs which extend out and the little feet that fold down, so you can get a wider base here. And so this allows you to use it on a flat surface like a table without it tipping over quite so easily. With these legs spread out, of course, you do get this nice wide base, but when they're folded up, you keep it within that nice small profile of the slider itself. And the profile of this, the side profile, is also very, very thin. So that means that you can still fit this into your backpack. You can fit it into the carry bag that comes with this just as easily with this attached. Once you use this, you don't have to take it off. So to connect this to the bottom of the slider, you will need to remove this quick release plate. And to do that, you do also have to have these legs open. Once you do that, there's a screw on this side which will loosen that up, and you can just take that right out there. Now you can see you have a screw right here, and that's what you're going to use to connect this to the bottom of the slider. So let's go ahead and do that now. Just a quick side note here, there is a tool that's built into here and held in place by a magnet, although it's not a screwdriver for this center screw, which I think for me, I would use this most often. This is just like a small little Allen wrench here. So I think that they could have utilized this space for a more useful tool, but you do have it built in here anyway. So you can see the little kind of cutout half moon type shape on the bottom of the slider matches up with the little protrusion on this Easy Lock base. So you'll line those up and just screw it in nice and tight. Now we can go ahead and put this down on the table, and once we unlock it, you can slide back and forth much easier without it losing its balance. The biggest downside for this to me is that these little feet here aren't all that long, and since they're friction based with no stopper to prevent them from folding out completely flat, you do have to keep them pretty much at a 90-degree angle to have a stable base. They're also not extendable, so you don't really have much room to work with if you're shooting on the ground outside unless it's completely flat. If you do try to extend these legs out at a more extreme angle to make up for uneven ground, you'll find very quickly that it's going to just push down and lay flat, and so that's not going to give you a stable base either. Overall, the sliding body design also means that you won't very easily be able to get angled shots just by putting one end up onto a step or a ledge or something, because as you slide down, it will pretty quickly just bang into the ground, and that ruins your shot. Basically, I found that the best way to use this is with a mini tripod like this, which is actually the base from the iFootage Cobra 2 monopod. This will get you just far enough off the ground so that you can slide at different angles, and it's also just as portable as the slider itself, plus it's rock solid. Since it's small though, you'll still be able to get fairly low angle shots, almost as if the slider were right on the ground. And the ball head that's already built into this lets you angle the slider without you needing yet another separate ball head. I know this video is for the Micro 2, but seriously, they should package this iFootage monopod base together with the slider. It's so perfect together. So now just to quickly show you how this works, let's go ahead, put the head on top of here, put it on top of this little mini tripod, get a camera on there, and just show you how it moves with everything set up. So all in all, you should know the restrictions that a design like this inherently bring with it, but I found that having a mini tripod like this one from iFootage really does solve most of them. The one remaining issue that having a mini tripod doesn't really help at all is the fact that you have to mount this in the center, and as with any slider, when you mount it in the center, you're going to have a little bit of flex when you slide out to the ends, especially with a slightly heavier setup. Although this itself is really rugged and rigid and strong, it's still kind of just inherent of that design. When you have a slider mounted at the center, whether it's this or another slider, just be aware that at times, again depending on if you're shooting straight or if you're shooting at an angle and what the subject is as well, how noticeable that flex is, there are going to be times where you do see that. For me, I just absolutely love that I can bring this out to a location with me so easily and then carry it around within that location from spot to spot just as easily. Combine that with how easy it is to get really smooth shots out of this. I mean, shots that are so consistent in speed it looks like they're motorized, but you don't have to deal with all the extra hassle that having a motor comes along with it. This is just something that everybody needs to have in their kit for day-to-day use. So if you want to see more about the pricing or availability of this wherever you are located, check the links in the video description. I'll put as many down there as I can to make sure that wherever you are, you should be able to find this, I hope. But if you have any questions or comments, do let me know down below as well, and I will be sure to get back to you. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to see more in the future, and as always, thank you for watching.